Hi, my name is Josh Lucas, and I am the lead keeper of herpetology at the Oklahoma City Zoo. Here with me is Shelby. She is a large adult female radiated tortoise. And just recently, I returned from Madagascar. There was actually a confiscation of about 10,000 of these guys that were all destined for the illegal pet trade in China. As soon as I arrived on the ground in Madagascar, there was an insane amount of triage work to do, getting there, seeing the condition the tortoises were in. Unfortunately, a lot of what we had heard is there were over 900, possibly even 1,500 tortoises that had passed on already, so we went in really expecting the worst.
Alright, so day one, hour one, Madagascar, cut my finger open, getting stitched up by the doctor. Stay tuned.
And first hour in Madagascar. Ow!
I know, I'm sorry. Okay. Good thing we got a doctor on board.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, why is this my life?
He said. Okay, it's not too deep.
Okay.
We'll just do a few skin sutures, okay?
On the knife?
Yeah. I was trying to cut the zip ties open,
Yeah.
and it was a crappy knife, and it just...
Those are the ones that always cut you.
Yep. I'm like, thank God I got tetanus before I came here.
Although you obviously have good pain.
A little bit.
Yeah. So just tell me, do you feel this?
No.
No? Any of this?
Oh, I feel a
Here?
tiny bit.
Alrighty.
Oh, you
Ready?
did it. Are you going Rambo right now too? Did she Novocaine it?
Yes.
Oh, she did?
She hooked me up. I would be screaming.
I'm like, you should be Rambo.
After getting my hand all stitched up, we boarded a plane and departed for the city of Tulier, which is actually where the confiscation took place, and a smaller town outside of Tulier, Ifati, is where the tortoises were being held. We landed at night, and so we were unable to do very much until the morning. The next day, we woke up bright and early and made our way to the village of tortoises in Ifati, Madagascar. Here is where the 10,000 confiscated tortoises were actually being kept. First thing we did when we got there was unload the majority of our vet supplies in the vet clinic that was built by TSA. After dropping off all of our stuff, we got to make our way into the actual center, and I got to, for the first time, lay my eyes on over 10,000 radiated tortoises. It was actually quite a bit more than 10,000 because there were already 5,000 from other confiscations stationed here at the village of tortoises. The largest problem we were running into health-wise with the confiscated radiated tortoises was that a lot of them were severely dehydrated. And because of this, a large number of them were developing a stomatitis, which had actually not been seen before by any of the veterinarians who were there. Essentially, these big kind of pus-filled lesions filled up the entire area of the esophagus, restricting the tortoise from being able to breathe, drink, or eat. Luckily, they found out as the days went on that they could actually remove the lesions from the throat, and once they did that, the tortoises were then able to drink and eat again, and a lot of them perked back up afterwards. The bulk of what we did was soaking the radiated tortoises. That involves placing them in a bucket of clean water, which will usually encourage them to drink. So helping them get hydrated, and then as we soaked them, when we pulled them out of the tubs, we had to mark them so that we wouldn't get them mixed up with other tortoises in the pen. It took 10 people almost 2.5 days to soak 10,000 tortoises. With the majority of my work done in Ifati, myself and another herpetologist started to make a 10-hour trek down to remote southern Madagascar in a town called Itampulu. This trek involved a taxi ride, followed by another taxi ride, but taxied by Zebu, all the way out to a boat. pretty amazing and overwhelming to be able to see almost 17,000 radiated tortoises in one place. How many people at any point in time in the world can say that or even think that? But at the same time, it's very humbling and tragic just considering the massive scale of this problem for this species. After an hour-and-a-half boat ride, we arrived at the beautiful beaches of Akoko, Madagascar.
We just got here after about an hour-and-a-half boat ride from Tuliar, which is close to Infados, where the confiscated tortoises are. So now we're stuck here waiting for about 4 hours. We can get a car to arrive to take us all the way down to Ensemble, which is a 3-hour drive after the car gets here. Show you guys the beach. It is quite incredible. Crystal clear water, beautiful white sand.
Show them how to live in a world of gun crime. Telling you be careful. Please teach them to survive. Them just taught them way of life, but them can't find the road. Teach the youth them how to unite. Tell them about peace and love. Tell them about clean heart and pure mind, and who did create the whole world. Teach them never, never give up to fight.
Unfortunately, we learned that this same stretch of road, when traveled about 5 years ago, the passengers encountered upwards of 50 radiated tortoises just on the way. This time, we only found one, and it was my first wild radiated tortoise.
We just finally made it to Ensemble, and not only is there a massive pen full of the radiated tortoises, the healthy ones that have been brought down by TSA, but there's also a handful of wild radiated tortoises out here, kind of next to the pen, so that's really cool. We're going to get up on a couple of them and check them out. Wild radiated tortoise. We're now in the pen. This is one of the healthy ones brought down by TSA to Ensemble. You can see they've got the several colors of paint marked on them.
After a long day of traveling, it was nice to finally be able to settle in to where I was going to spend my next 5 days. And I couldn't believe I got to see 3 wild radiated tortoises on the way down.
Alright, so now we're in Itampulu, and we're working with the local community who kind of guards and cares for the tortoises that have been moved here. So far there's 750 here from the 10,000 confiscation. These are supposed to be some of the healthiest ones. A lot of them have not been soaked, so us and a couple of the keepers and guards here are going along in a massive pen, collecting all the tortoises that we can, soaking them and marking them. These ones or no? Okay. 4 mediums and a small. All right, so we're about 70 to 75% of the way through with our 3.5 mile walk from where the tortoises are kept, the big tortoise enclosure, to back to our hotel. It's about 95 degrees. The sun is blazing, and I'm getting to do all of this in sand. It's having a really good time. 7 radiated tortoises out here in Madagascar. Oh, and did I mention my only relief is hydrating with super hot backpack water. Yay, desert. I do really love radiated tortoises though. Something fun I learned while out here walking through remote, hot desert Madagascar. So the area where the radiated tortoise enclosure is, and the area surrounding it, where there's actually quite a few wild radiated tortoises, a lot of this is considered sacred land. And so it's a huge problem if you relieve yourself or go to the bathroom anywhere next to what is considered sacred. In the event that that happens and someone catches you, you owe the entire village at least a zebu, sometimes a goat and a zebu. So you have to watch where you pee. Not that I have enough water in me to be able to pee anywhere, but still, it's an important thought to keep in mind. Hot as bathwater. Itampulu, Madagascar. All for radiated tortoises.
After sleeping for about 16 hours, I woke up ready to start the trek all the way back to the camp. Luckily this time I found a cute little dog who wanted to be my friend, and he followed me the whole way there, where we continued our work finding, soaking, marking, and dividing up the radiated tortoises.
Alright, so we soaked 499 tortoises yesterday. Today we're trying to soak the rest of the 750 before the next batch of 1,000 arrives from Ifasi.
As if being an invasive species wasn't bad enough, the local goats like to hop into the tortoise pen, eat their food, and drink their water. But unfortunately, they are necessary for the livelihood of the local community.
This is how I unwind after a long, hard day soaking endangered tortoises in the desert. Beach time. Bonjour.
This pen is a completed version of what we came down here to construct for the new batch of confiscated tortoises. This one's goat and predator proof, and the perimeter wall was actually built around natural radiated habitat.
Alright, so we're trying to create pens within a pen for the 2,000 tortoises that are coming here over the next 5 days. This involves cutting lumber, nailing lumber together, digging up rocks, hauling rocks, and setting up rocks appropriately. Doesn't look the best, but it's functional to segregate adult tortoises from juveniles from babies.
While the men of the village helped us with construction work, the women of the village unfortunately had to sit in the blistering sun grinding rocks all day to make mortar.
We ran out of wood a little under halfway through with our first pen, so lots more rock digging and wood chopping to follow. You do what you gotta do, man. TSA represent 2018.
Luckily, since our construction materials hadn't arrived yet, the locals who were helping us were very ingenuitive when it came to using their natural resources, like pulling branches off of trees and shrubs and cacti and turning them into stakes.
That's the last of the confiscated radiated tortoises added to this pen. So now we found them all, soaked them all, and when our pens are built, We will be ready for the new editions tomorrow and the newer editions on Tuesday.
This is a wild radiated tortoise I've been following around. It's about 4 o'clock now, and from what I can gather, these guys seem to be most active in the morning around 6 to 10, and in the evening again around 3 to 6:30.
Working hard, Dennis. It's now 5:30. The temperature's dropped about 10 to 15 degrees since 4 o'clock. All of the radiated tortoises are starting to slow down for the night.
Eight more minutes.
So there's two methods or tricks to unloading 55-gallon drums full of well water for your tortoise site. The first one is you chop down pieces of tree and make beams and roll it down out of the truck. The second one is you get everybody from the village together and you just lift and push and pull and get it down to the ground.
We just got to the site this morning, and unfortunately we received another small confiscation of radiated tortoises overnight. They busted a local poacher in a small village outside of
where we're staying. Looks like we've got 2 adults, one of whom is badly burned, and unfortunately this happens a lot due to slash and burn agriculture in this region. We've also got 2 juveniles and a flat-tailed spider tortoise, Pyxis arachnoides, which are also under heavy poaching demand. So believe it or not, we actually got to take place in something really special and sacred with this local community here who's helping us with the Radiated Tortoise project. We participated in a ceremonial goat sacrifice wherein a goat was sacrificed and the elder of the village kind of said a prayer, the purpose of this being to bless this project. This is a really big deal for them and shows how committed their village is to this project. So it was pretty incredible to get to be a part of this. And not only that, but afterwards they took us down into a sacred cavern for their people, which myself and one other person were the only white people ever to go down there, and 2 of the only foreigners ever to go down there. They don't even let native Madagascar people who are not a part of their village take part in something like this. So it was a big deal. We were blessed by a spring of water down in the bottom of the cavern. And then when we returned back up to the surface, we ate the goat that had been cooked after being sacrificed.
Now eating the goat that we sacrificed.
So the goat actually tasted pretty good. I ate a piece of fatty liver and then later a piece of kind of charred goat meat. What tasted really bad though was the rum.
Yeah, okay, let me get that on. Get me that on.
Thank God we went first and second and third on that.
Well, we had to go ahead of you.
This is the harsh reality of animal smuggling and animal poaching. We've got one who just passed away and one who seems very close to death.
If you want him to help you, we'll do this.
What is this?
With my time in Ensemble a little over halfway done, I'm feeling a variety of things. I'm still excited, loving being a part of this project, but it's hot. Every day is so hot, and the work is hard, but it's for a good cause, so it's very fulfilling. But to be honest, I'm just craving like ice cold Diet Coke, get home, cuddle on my dog, and being able to flush my toilet.
Did you want this on the outside like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I just finished the second.
No, it's just breaking.
So it doesn't look like much, but this is what we're working with out here in southern, very rural Madagascar. These are just temporary pens until the actual supplies get here. It's very important that we are able to divide and segregate all of the tortoises by their size classes so that we can ensure they all have access to food and water.
Apart from the pens, we're also working on building a clinic and a keeper area or kind of facility. So here's the very beginning. Dennis's office. Yeah. The truck with the first 1,000 batch of healthy tortoises from Ifati has just arrived in Ensemble, and we're here getting ready to inspect and unload them all. Here we go. Getting everybody unloaded now. We've got a bunch of containers set up so we can soak everybody as we take them off of the truck. They just keep coming. 1,000 tortoises is a lot more than you think it is.
As the tortoises were unloaded off of the bus, the guy who would first grab them would yell "Dime," which means 5 because they would come down in batches of 5, and then a government official would record the number, and then we would grab the 5 tortoises, put them into bowls to soak, and once they were soaked, release them into their designated pens.
We're at 315 so far. Our tubs are full, and we've got tortoises all over this little pen that we've created here. This is what it takes to process 1,000 radiated tortoises. We've got the whole community out here involved, the Malagasy government, and TSA, Oklahoma City Zoo, and Dallas Zoo volunteers.
As we're still processing, you can look over and see a sea of happy radiated tortoises wandering off into the sunrise.
Oh, why are you putting water on their backs?
Everybody's off the truck. We've just still got quite a bit of soaking to do, and that takes a while since we have to roll barrels and carry water to the soaking site. My favorite tortoise from the confiscation.
Quit playing with the soap.
Can't stop, won't stop. Supply check just arrived, so here we go with truck unload part 2 of the morning.
After a long day, we were looking forward to our journey back into civilization, which would not be complete without a Zebu taxi. After landing back in Tulier, we returned to the village of Tortoises, check in with that crew who was still working there and see how the tortoises who were still there were doing, and then of course I had to get my stitches taken out.
These are such long scissors. Was that terribly painful?
No. It was a tiny bit, like,
Oh, I have triple antibiotic.
Boy, your scissors suck, I gotta say. I hope that didn't go on the GoPro.
It did. It felt like you were cutting the skin on that one.
That's hurting, huh?
Not as bad as the other one.
The skin is starting to grow.
The skin's like growing over the suture. I'm at TSA's headquarters in Madagascar, so we're gonna see a couple of plowshare tortoises and the largest radiata that anybody knows of. I'm super excited. This is the most recent confiscation since the 10,000. We've got another 500 radiated tortoises confiscated that are now at the facility here in Tana, Madagascar. catching on the largest radiated tortoise that anybody knows of.
If you weren't aware, plowshare tortoises are actually the most endangered tortoise on the planet. There's roughly around 400 to at maximum 600 left in the entire world, and probably only around 100 left in the wild. So here at TSA's headquarters, they have 19 of them, all of which have been confiscated, and it's incredible to imagine that these 19 make up almost 5% of the entire population that's left in the world. As my journey comes to an end, I want to leave you guys with some final thoughts. I know there's a lot of people who have the concern of, well, if there were 10,000 tortoises confiscated, how on earth can these animals be endangered? There's 10,000 of them. You have to look at it in a little bit different light than, say, the plight of the plowshare tortoise. In the late 1990s, a population survey showed that there were about 12 million radiated tortoises left in the wild. But then a recent survey in 2013 showed that now there's only about 6 million. So just in 13 to 15 years, we've gone from 12 million to 6 million, completely halved the population. This is very alarming, and chances are between then and now, so just 5 more years, that we've dropped at least another million, maybe even more than that. Experts suggest that they're being removed from the wild for both the illegal pet trade and for food in Madagascar and in other countries like China at a rate of 200,000 to 500,000 per year. Just in the 2 weeks I was in Madagascar, there were at least 4 other confiscations, and that's just the ones I heard of. One of them had 500 tortoises in it. One of them had 60. One of them had 4. Like, this is a daily occurrence. And the only way things are ever going to get better is with the involvement of local communities in Madagascar. I know a lot of people watching the goat footage may have been a bit disturbed, but let me give you a little bit of background on that. The government of Madagascar actually gave us permission to take the land for free to use for the second site in Itampulu. However, TSA and their contacts in Madagascar wanted to do things the right way. They wanted to get the community involved. So the first thing we did when we got down there was meet with the community, was talk to them and get their permission to use the land and get their involvement. That's part of the reason why the ceremony and the sacrifice was such a big deal. This community is now fully committed to helping protect these tortoises. Not only are the tortoises a sacred symbol for them, but it also is now going to create jobs both in security, construction, and even kind of zookeeping at the site where the tortoises are on their land. This is why the work of organizations like TSA is so critical and so important, especially in times of great need, like with this confiscation, which, by the way, was the largest confiscation on record for any Colonian species. If this has inspired you in any way, you want to get out there and you want to help, there are more waves of people being sent to Madagascar. And you can also, if you can't do that, just donate or maybe reach out to TSA and see how you can help them with their on-the-ground efforts. My journey's been rewarding and humbling and Just completely awe-inspiring, mind-opening experience. I hope more people get the chance to see and experience this and just realize the journey is far from over. The struggle for these tortoises is far from over. Just sending people to help with one confiscation is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket of what's really going on. You don't even have to go out and submit yourself to the hot desert conditions of southern Madagascar like I did. You can sit in the comfort of your own home and still be involved and still help this species. You don't even have to go out and submit yourself to the harsh desert conditions of southern Madagascar like I did. From the comfort of your own... From the comfort of your own home, you can help save this species like Shelby here.